Alright, this is Animals Man 3 by Morrison and Chaz from Chaz and Dave. And this series is very hard for me to talk about or even read. One of the few things that I am truly against, something that really makes me emotional, animal cruelty. And Animals Man is full of it. The politics of this series are mostly that we are horrible to animals, and I agree with that, but I just didn't like sitting down to read a comic where there is an abused monkey trapped in a cage dying from test experiments. So this is a great start to the video. I have said that I can barely look at a comic book, which will only offend anyone who likes it. But here is Banana Beast. He is sort of the villain for this opening story, but not quite a villain. He is cleverly framed like a villain. You think he's going to be the antagonist, but it's a bit of misdirection. Animals Man, he got into a fight with one of them genetic abominations and it tore off one of his arms. Much like everyone predicted at the end of last issue, he does indeed mimic an animal with regenerative ability to restore his lost arm. In this case, he is copying the abilities of Earthworm Jim. So Animals Man, he grows a new arm, but the poor bugger, he's going to have to buy a new jacket. At least if he had just kept the amputee look he had Gannon, he wouldn't have had to fork out for a new coat. Animals Man, he feels out of his depth, so he calls the Super Science Research Lab to come and help him out. And we have got a subplot with Animals Man's family, his wife and his precocious daughter. They have run afoul of some redneck racists, or as I call them, evil comic gatesers. This bit is really horrible, and not just because of the rape threat. Cruelty to animals is disgusting. If you have ever abused an animal, unsubscribe from my channel. I'm not in the habit of denouncing a whole section of people. I think that everyone deserves to be considered on an individual and personal basis. But I will happily denounce anyone who likes to hurt animals. You are scum of the earth. I think you are pathetic babies in the skin of grown-ups, and I hope a big fuck-off bear shows up at your house and rings your doorbell, and you answer the door, and the bear is there, and the bear just mauls you to death. Banana Beast, he is an hard character from an anthology book. He didn't have much appearances or life in him. I think before this he had only appeared in 1 or 2 issues of Shoecase. They introduced him and then he probably was in the background at some point in Christmas on Infinite Earths. Even after this, even after Morrison has dusted the character off here, Banana Beast doesn't really get a renewed lease on life. I think he's in like a few more issues of Animals Man and like one Man-Thing story, and that is about it. His biggest claim to fame was that he was in the Justice League cartoon, where apparently he was a member of the Justice League, even though he never has been in the comics. I think he was used as a substitute for Animals Man, since Animals Man's comics would have been considered too mature for the audience of a cartoon. They probably didn't want to adapt Animals Man into the animated universe because of that. Morrison, he had some backstory to Banana Beast. I don't know if this is from his original stories. I have not read them. But here at least, it does help add more to the character who has been a cryptic presence so far. Banana Beast, he is a character who shares similar powers to Animals Man. He has a psychic connection to the wildlife, and he can like fuse animals together to create all these horrible mutations that we have been seeing. So Banana Beast, he has come to America to liberate all the captured and tortured animals in cosmetics labs and stuff like that. And the precocious daughter runs off to their neighbours to tell them about the evil comet gatesers that are in the woods. Animals Man and Banana Beast finally cross paths here. Banana Beast storms out of the super science research lab just as Animals Man arrives. And we get some more backstory here about how the lab was creating germ warfare, and Banana Beast has unwittingly been exposed to it. Then Animals Man's wife is saved from the rapists, and I am quickly skipping that part because the stuff with the animals is horrible. And on that last page, there was a really unpleasant panel where you saw the dogs eating the entrails of what was left of the cat. I really do mean this. This series is really hard reading for someone who has any empathy for animals. Like here, I didn't want to read a touching scene with an ape dying a slow death from an anthrax-like virus that evil scientists injected into him. I don't even care if I sound like a wimp or a pansy or a Nancy boy or whatever Americans think of emotional men. I struggled to read this, and I already have read it. I knew it was coming. This ape dying, it means more to me than Supergirl dying or any other comic book death you want to throw at us. This comic is written well, and it is addressing very real problems about society's treatment of animals, but I cannot recommend it. It is upsetting to us. I didn't really want to see animals dying in a comic book. And 2 animals die in this, so that is like a double-decker. It might come across like I would prefer to bury me head in the sand, but that's not the case at all. Politically, this book is right. It is right to tear into industries and science that perform all these experiments and tests on captured animals. It's just not a fun reading experience. And it's even worse because this book, it came out in 1988. And most of what it is saying is still true. I'm not gonna suddenly become a YouTube crusader championing for animal rights. Don't worry, this isn't like a big video where I start like a campaign. I'll likely just continue to bemoan humans' treatment of animals in most reviews of comics with Animals Man in them. I rate this an organically sourced, vegan-friendly, no animals were hurt in the process of this review, 7 thumbs up.